As a key leader in our region, Judge Treviño has played a crucial role in fostering collaboration and growth. Join me now in welcoming Judge Eddie Treviño, Jr.
Good morning, or no, still good morning? Good morning. Everybody still awake? All right, I know you want to get to your lunch, so I'm going to try to be brief. First of all, I want to thank Joaquin for accommodating myself and my schedule. I was supposed to close today, but I found out that none of you were going to be here this afternoon, so I wanted to make sure I got my piece in before you left. First of all, when I say Rio, you say Plex. Rio, Rio, Rio. All right, good start. That's a good start. Joaquin, thank you. Needless to say, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with that first step. We want you all to leave here. You just heard from 4 of my colleagues. You've heard from sometimes I'm referred to as the Richard Cortez of Cameron County, and that's okay, because I've heard him referred to as the Eddie Treviño of Hidalgo County. Yeah, absolutely. I have had the pleasure of knowing and working with Judge Cortez for over 25, 30 years, both in the private and in the public sector. When he was mayor of McAllen, and Mayor Cowan, you're going to have to listen to this. For those of you who may not know, I served as mayor of Brownsville back from 03 to 07, about the same time that Judge Cortez served as mayor of McAllen. You talk about Friday night mentality. We were trying at that point, realizing the importance of regionalization. We knew that if by working together, instead of fighting over that single loaf in that slice of bread in that loaf, we would make that loaf and that pie bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, a few years ago, right after I took office and right after he took office a little bit after I did, but the governor tasked us with this very important directive. He said, if you can get the MPOs, the Metropolitan Planning Organizations, those organizations which are critical to the planning of our infrastructure, our roads, if you can get all 3 to get together and make one for the Valley, one for the RioPlex, I will make sure that you get additional funding. Judge Cortez and I took that challenge and that directive, and we began working with all of the mayors of the entire Valley. Now, if you've ever tried herding cats, that's exactly how it started. But let me tell you how we finished. Before, with the 3 MPOs, the Valley was receiving approximately $500 million in state funding. 4 short years later, after the merger, we're up to $3.6 billion. That's the example of working together. So Joaquin's idea, which has been tried before, but it's a different perspective, it's a different time, and we need to take advantage of this time. I'll give you another little example. The SpaceX original agreement with Cameron County was to develop a launch facility, Falcon 9, once, twice a month, and that was what it was supposed to be. And of course, everyone was very excited about that. Then a few years ago, Elon and I were having several discussions, and he brought up the idea of moving the entire Starship program to Boca Chica, to Starbase. I had no idea what that really would mean, but when he talked about the investment and the jobs and the idea of establishing a real new industry, we were all about it. I couldn't have foreseen what was going to happen, but this is where the public-private partnership becomes a critical base and structure. Government doesn't create jobs, we know that, but government can help create that environment so that the private sector can succeed. For too often, the Rio Grande Valley has been talked about in manners and in ways not necessarily of a positive nature. Mayor Villalobos, we always try to find the right words because we don't want to say it, but we've been known as a very poor region, and that's the reality of it. He talked about the brain drain. We've been losing kids for decades, And if any community in this state, in this country, in this world was to lose its best and brightest for 60, 70, and 80 years, that community would suffer. But that's not the case anymore. They're staying. Education is a great equalizer. The investment of UTRGV, STC, TSTC, TSC, and all of the other schools, actually, thank you so much for everything that you're doing. We've always believed that our people, if given the same resources and opportunities, they would easily match and or excel or succeed at the same level as everybody else in the state and in the country. And the proof is in the pudding. Thanks to SpaceX, now you've got kids in our valley talking about becoming astronauts, engineers, and working where? At SpaceX. Who would have ever thought that we'd be launching rockets out of our backyard? A few years ago, before the decision was made to put the Tesla plant in Austin, I got together with Judge Cortez and all of the mayors at the time and said, look, we may not have a strong chance, but let's give it an opportunity. So we went to speak to Elon, and this was at the beginning of the pandemic or shortly thereafter. And I said, look, if we can build your rockets, we sure as heck can build your cars. And he said, yes. And if it were up to me, and I was trying to tell him, you won't have to travel as much. You'll have just one place to go, one-stop shopping, one-stop building and producing. And he said, but I've got a board of directors on Tesla where I don't have a board on SpaceX. So that may have been the difference. And many of the board members thought, where can we go in Texas that's as close to California as possible? And the only name they came up with was Austin. So, but we're very, very proud. The LNG facility now is the largest public-private partnership. Thanks to the agreement that we engaged with and approved with Cameron County, they are now developing. And when you see it, it is quite impressive. The largest public-private partnership, the largest private investment in the entire country. So, regionalism, advocacy, changing the narrative. We need to change the narrative, and it starts here. Joaquin, thank you for your vision. Everyone that's committed, that's a part of this, I believe we have 14 different countries that are represented here today. Do you all, I hope you, I just realized, do you all understand me, or should I have been speaking in Spanish? Okay, all right, I'm just kidding. We change the narrative starting today. The regionalism, the ability of the public officials to work together to create that environment so that private business can succeed is alive and well in the Rio Grande Valley and in the RioPlex. Let me end with this. The secret of getting started, of getting going, is getting started. Mark Twain, an author unknown. Coming together is a beginning, staying together is progress, and working together is success. May God bless you. Thank you for having me here today.